What's going on? Dylan Conrad, Metabolic Mama Secrets family, talking to you about how to stay lean AF without ever having to count calories, count your macros. Before I do that, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like, subscribe, turn notifications on, Spotify, iTunes, give me a follow, hit that bell button, write a review. All helps the algorithm, helps me help more mamas like you. Or if you're a dude listening to this, like I know I have like a couple male listeners, and a lot of the stuff applies. Like probably like 80-70% of it applies. But yeah, today I'm gonna talk to you about how to basically stay lean, right, and never have to count calories or log your macros ever again. So how we do that is intuitive eating. And let me first state that in order to lose body fat, you need to be in a calorie deficit. And counting calories, counting macros is the most efficient and effective way to do that. It is not the only way. There are a lot of other methods that we have taken clients through in order to lose body fat, but it is the most effective and efficient way to do it, right? But once the problem with let me kind of get into what intuitive eating is. Basically intuitive eating, it's pretty widely interpreted. I was first introduced to intuitive eating back in 2010, I want to say. Read like a textbook thick book on it, and basically what it is, from what it's open to interpretation, but kind of how I break it down in a more scientific way and less of a like woo woo anti-diet culture way. How I break it down is just basically eating based on your body's intuition, right? So like eating based on what you're craving, how hungry you are, how full you are, all that stuff. Eating like what you're craving instead of what you think you should be eating. So that's kind of what intuitive eating. The flaws with intuitive eating is if you just go straight into it, your body's intuition, you have to think, is basically what got you to your physique and health in the first place. So your intuition is off, right? So your intuition for food is pretty off. So resetting that is extremely important. The other part that is not great about intuitive eating, it doesn't create foundational eating habits. Now, I mean that in a sense of like what you should be eating, what the portions should kind of look like, meal prep, kind of like just, it doesn't really focus on the putting yourself in the best position to succeed in terms of like getting the right food in, getting the right quantities and all that stuff, right? So it doesn't really cover that. The last thing that, and this is like, I could create a huge pros and cons list, but the last thing that I really dislike about intuitive eating is it's predominant among women. I think like 90%, 95% of the people that use intuitive eating are women for whatever reason. I think a big reason is because, a lot of women using it have come from like a very restrictive dieting approach background, especially in like even early 2000s, 90s, before that, like just really, really restrictive dieting culture was like the norm. Now it's not that much. You see more of like a flexible dieting style emerging, which is basically what we're doing. But the problem with intuitive eating is, inadequate protein intake is the biggest hormonal imbalance contributor to women that we see in our program. And it's the most common thing women are missing. So once we get the right protein intake up, which really can't be done through intuitive eating, because you don't have any objective measurements. You don't know how many grams you actually need. And you don't really if you're eating what you're craving, a lot of times protein isn't the best tasting thing ever, but there are a lot of ways that when you go through these lifestyle adjustments, these habit adjustments in the beginning, you learn how to make those actually taste really, really good. But if you skip that step, you'll basically be eating very inadequate amount of protein. Some of the benefits to intuitive eating, one is it takes you, if you're doing it from like counting calories, counting macros, into intuitive eating. Counting calories and counting macros, or taking food pictures, portion sizes, working off a meal plan, that's all external, right? That's like external factors that are basically telling you how much to eat, right? So like your internal, like your hunger and fullness cues, aren't focused on, right? Can you do both at once? 100%, absolutely. And I'll kind of get back to that in a second of why you might want to do that first. But that's number one. Number two is it is less stressful. Like it is a stressor to have to weigh and log your food. Like I'm not gonna lie, like it's a stressor. Like it's easier not to, right? That's why no one does it. It's less restrictive because you're not trying to hit a certain calorie number or protein, carbon, fat number. the approach, how it's done, does calm you down. So it is used as like a soothing and calming technique rather than like a masking technique. So like, if you're a stress eater or a binge eater, like you're using that to kind of mask what you feel. If you're using intuitive eating, you're using the food to calm you down, right? And like to like relax you and satiate you and make you feel like comforted, instead of like using it as a mask. Yeah, and then the last thing is it just gets you really in touch with that internal cue, like the hunger, the fullness cues, what you're actually craving, your craving cues, your signals, all that stuff. Just really gets you in touch with that. So who should be doing it? So two types of people that should be doing it. Number one is someone who has a pretty unhealthy relationship with food, maybe, goes into fits of restriction and binging or light binging. Like, it doesn't have to be like all the way to like, there's binging, right? And there's like a normal binge. There's like binging where you're overeating like an amount of calories, and then there's like diagnosed by a psychiatrist, physician, whatever, binge eating disorder, right? And so I'm not going to touch on like any disordered eating, because that is that's like your therapist or physician or general practitioners. That's their field. That's not mine. But if you're like an emotional eater, stress eater, you restrict and light binge, occasionally, then and you have like an unhealthy relationship with food, I would say you might want to actually put your fat loss goals on the back burner for now and really get good at like intuitive eating and like getting in touch with your yourself, right? Your internal cues, your hunger, fullness, your cravings, all that stuff. And then once you do go into your deficit and you try to lose body fat, you can actually use the base of intuitive eating, so you can do both at once, which I've done. I've had several clients do successfully. If you just finished a reverse diet, so if you did a cut, right, you did use the Mama Macro method, you got to your goal body fat, and then you did a reverse diet after that, built your metabolism up so you can eat more food and you don't have bomb metabolism. After reverse diet, then you want to go intuitive eating. How we do it personally, how we take our clients through intuitive eating, I was talking to my staff the other day. I'm like, dude, you can, if you, like, the reason we have this coaching program is because like I'm giving you like literally exactly what we do, but like whether you do it, like that's 95% coaching. I think only like if you have a military mindset, or if you're just like someone who's not working or has nothing going on, you could probably do it. But you're a human being, and it's I think it's the most courageous thing ever to realize that you need help and to ask for help. But how we do it basically is, once we come off the reverse diet, we basically start taking 1 day of food logging off, then the next week 2, 3, and depending on how they did, obviously, with that adherence, that, taking those days off, if they just like shit the bed and just fucking ate everything, yeah, we're gonna have them do that week back over. So we want to focus on like 5 different things. So we want to focus on making sure they're getting some sort of lean protein at each meal, some sort of veggie at each meal. If obviously we are focusing more on like eating only what you're craving. So if you're not craving protein or vegetables, you just double up the next meal. And then, no distractions while eating, and really just getting in touch with like your hunger and fullness cues, tasting your food, really taking it slowly, chewing thoroughly, like really like tasting and focusing on like the time between the bites. And really like savoring what you're tasting and chewing. Are you craving cold, hot, crunchy? What are you craving? Like sweet. So that's kind of how we do it. Anyways, I have to hop on a staff meeting. I love y'all. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and